Welcome, welcome. I am your host, Mr. Cookie Man. I'm Dedrick, the Cookie Man, and this is my amazing, phenomenal Mrs. Fields. I'm my amazing co-host. Well, the phenomenal Mrs. Fields. You
Got to do the
see it, you
parade
see it.
wave. The parade wave.
Right, right. You see it. Okay. Tonight we're gonna do like we do every now and again. We're gonna do an open convo night. We're gonna be talking about various um topics and whatnot. And so tonight, I want to start off with um, a post that I had posted recently. When I say recently, I mean on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, I created this post, and now keep in mind I said Tuesday. So Tuesday, I created this post. By Wednesday morning, I was at 2,000 views and over 900. Well, Wednesday I was at about 2,000 views and about 140 comments, and then I just checked, and now I'm at 15,300 views. 15,300 views since Tuesday. And I have over 1,639 comments on this thing. So this thing has been flying off the handle since I posted it. And I was told I need to, make some response videos to it. And the question was simply this: why is men's mental health not prioritized or talked about more? Now, the premise to why because since June, and I think a little before that, I had been touching on men's mental health and mental health in general. Because the second part was mental health in general. The first part was men's mental health. We did a couple of podcasts about those two things, and the reason why I separated them because I wanted to focus on men's mental health on the first. The second one because it was June and it was Men's Mental Health Month, even though it's a year long thing that we should be worried about. But I wanted to focus in on that for that particular episode. The next one was about mental health in general because we had to talk about everybody, including women, including children, including society and as a whole. So we touched on that. But and the one of the most telling things about this post was the responses to the post. Now, I expected some people to respond. I didn't expect this much engagement, but I was happy that I had this much engagement. However, because I never posted anything that drew this much engagement ever. I think I may have gotten over 1,000 views or likes or whatever before other little things or whatever, but nothing with this much engagement. I said all this to say that some of the things that were said was true. Um, because some of them said, well, men don't prioritize their mental health; they prioritize other things. Okay, that could be true. That's true in a lot of cases. Um, but the problem is that for some reason women thought that I was asking you guys to do it for us. Well, first of all, I wasn't asking you guys to do anything for us. I said, why isn't it prioritized or talked about more? That was it. At what point did I ask you women to do anything for us? I didn't ask anybody to do anything for us. I wasn't complaining. I wasn't whining because I had to reiterate that I was asking a straightforward question. So where is all these narratives being pulled out from? I'm trying to figure out why is it always a deflection? And then some went into the history of what they do is they say, well, who created the system and stuff like that? Who created these things? Who created this, that? First of all, is that what I asked you? No, I didn't ask you about history of men giving women lobotomies and them not understand doing these experiments and they testing these women because they didn't understand the emotional states of women. They didn't understand all this stuff. I never said that I understood, agreed, or anything like that with any of those type of things. I didn't ask you who created the system. Did I? No, I didn't. I didn't even ask you about women. I asked about specifically men's mental health. And I don't understand for the life of me why women cannot stay focused on the topic at hand or question. You ask a direct question, and they're all around the block with everything else. I'm not understanding that. Not all women do this, but a lot of them do. And I'm not understanding why you can't just stay focused on what we're talking about. It's got to be, you're going to dismiss what is being asked, first and foremost. Second of all, you're going to make it about women. You're going to deflect and then spin it to make somehow about you. This isn't about you. This particular topic is not about you. We can talk about a whole lot of stuff that is about you. That's cool. But in this case, anytime we're trying to talk about anything that resembles anything when it comes to men, it's always some kind of a jab in ways of, again, I'll read one. Now let me reiterate what the question was. Why is men's mental health not prioritized or talked about more? Seems straightforward, doesn't it? Well, this person responds, because men don't prioritize and talk about it. Good grief. Is there anything else you'd like women to do for you? Interesting.
Okay. Oh, well, that was unnecessary.
It was quite unnecessary. This one says, because toxic masculinity makes men think that emotions are for pussies. It's literally men's fault that men's mental health isn't taken seriously.
What?
Yeah. So,
I didn't. Yeah. I didn't expect that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was a good one, and I don't mean in a good way.
So, so then they say, well, let's see, what we got. The answer: the patriarchy tells men that talking about feelings is womanly and therapy is for the weak. I've heard that before, and I actually agree with that. Because a lot of people have that's been the thing. If a guy is emotional about something, a lot of men clown him for it. Yep, I've seen that. That's not a false thing. So let me see. And I'm just scrolling down the thread. I'm not picking and choosing. This one says, this young lady says, men have just as much access to mental health resources as women. If they don't prioritize themselves, then that's on them. This one says every study. This one says every study on mental health prior to around the last few decades was purely on men's mental health. We barely even know how half of those disorders affect women because we focus so much on men. Okay.
We do? Yeah, that's a new.
Yeah, this lady says when women are lonely, they call them crazy cat ladies. When men become lonely, it's an epidemic we have to address. The language we use still prioritizes men. So my response to that one directly was false. When women are insufferable and difficult, we call them the cat ladies because no man is going to want to be with them. Being that way, that's why we call you cat lady. That's why, literally, that's why we would say that. It has nothing to do with your loneliness. It has to do with your attitude. You're reckless out the mouth. You're disrespectful. Yeah, go buy a cat and a little dog named Fifi and live the rest of your life. Live your best life. because ain't no man is going to deal with an insufferable hang all the time. No man. Men prioritize their peace. They want peace. They want somebody to add to their peace. They don't want somebody that's going to be insufferable, reckless out of the mouth, disrespectful. So that's what I told this young lady. I said, so when we start finally talking about what men need, it's because men have been told not to cry, to suck it up, man up our whole lives, and not how to deal with how we feel in a healthy way. So now men are more than ever creating outlets with each other. That's what I responded to that young lady. And so these are some of the comments that we get and whatnot. And a lot of people went into how they would lobotomize women for, to treat the depression or whatever the case is. Listen, these are all historical facts. I'm not gonna dispute that those type of studies and those type of things that men carry forward in studying women and doing all this stuff. Listen, I'm not talking about decades ago. What I'm literally talking about is right now in this modern day era. That's why I asked the question. Why? I'm going to read the question again. Why is men's mental health not prioritized and talked about more? It was a discussion question. So I'm sitting here trying to figure out why all these jabs are being taken. I'm sitting here trying to figure out why is it that everything that's being said that pertains to a man and his mental health being related right back to women. First of all, women play a small role in men's mental health. The rest of everything, let me explain something. We got to get to the root of where this mental situation is going. What this people not being emotionally intelligent, where all of this is coming from. We got to get to the root of it. Not one time in that initial post did I point the finger and blame at women in particular, because all of us are complicit in each other's mental health. That's what I don't understand. Like, you cannot go around in this world and not have your mental health affected by another human being, whether it's a man or a woman. And not one time did I mention a woman in my original statement or question. Not one time. But yet a lot of people took it personal. And I'm just
a lot of people.
okay.
Hold on.
Like the woman that I just read from.
Hold on. A lot of people or a lot of women?
I'm gonna say people. I'm gonna say people because I don't
nice.
want people to get triggered.
You being nice.
I'll let the woman on stage
nice.
say
it's
women.
Okay. I understand. But I don't have to be nice. I'm not that nice.
So. Okay. And the woman who made that statement about the cat, she took it personal. She said, she's not going to stand for me talking down on her or something. She said, right? And I was confused because, and I asked her, I said, oh, okay. She says, you asked. I'm gonna tell you exactly what she said. She said, you asked and I answered. You don't get to call my experience false when more people agree with me than you. I am willing to have a dialogue, but I am not willing to be talked down to. Now, I explained to her, I said, first of all, I said, okay, so you were talking about you. See, I had no idea you was making it personal. I said, so this is your experience, huh? Your statements made no indication that this was a personal situation. Therefore, there is no way I could have knowingly talked down to you. There's no way.
It's called Hit Dogs Holler.
Yes, ma'am.
It's called Hit Dogs Holler.
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what it's called. So, and I said, you made a statement. You made statements, and in my life experience, what I said was the actual reason those we call cat women. Loneliness was never in the consideration when we refer to those women as cat women. And I don't talk to anyone ever. That is how you took it. So again, we started off talking about men's mental health, and that's what it devolved into. And as often as possible, for some reason, a lot of women took personal shots at me or at men in general. Well, whose fault is that? Or who set the system up? Who? And I'm just like, I didn't ask you all that. I asked you a very, very simple question. And instead of answering the question directly, you went all in every other avenue except for answering the question. I agree that it's on men to seek help. I agree because there are some men who are ego driven and they feel like getting therapy means that there's something wrong with them. Guess what? Something probably is wrong with you, which is why people say you might need therapy. The problem is in our Black culture, Black men in particular, or Black women, but we're discussing Black men right now. Black men think that they can handle it with either prayer or just manning up and toughing it out.
Well,
That's not
well,
the
well, hold, hold on. I'm gonna interject on that one. If you have solid women in your life, like
uh-huh.
Rhonda,
Uh-huh.
myself, um,
Mm-hmm.
I know plenty of solid women.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have those types of women in your life that you feel okay to go to when there's an issue or there's something you want to talk about, or you're going through something, when you have those types of women in your corner, they're not afraid. Y'all are not afraid to go to those women. You see what I mean?
Nope.
It's more or less
Nope.
the women that was pretty much responding to your post to where, oh, well, what does it matter? Y'all don't care about your mental health. Why we got to care about your mental health? Well, because guess what? If the shoe is on the other foot, the man is supposed to care about your mental health. If you just had a baby
But
and you're going through postpartum, he's supposed to walk on eggshells and make sure everything is great because you're going through something. So y'all expect for the man to do that for you, but you don't expect you don't do that for him. And I know that I've said this on plenty of the other, conversations that we have had about mental health. I check in with my husband. Hey, babe, you good? Are we good? Is it something I can do to make things better? Like, talk to me. And my husband is secure enough to know that if he talks to me and says, you know what, I just had a bad day, and this happened and that happened, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you a pussy. Can't even believe you talking about that. Blah, 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 blah. You need to man up, right? And the same thing with my sons. I have two sons, 13 and 12 now, you know, and they come to me because I've given them that avenue to come to me, and you're not going to be judged. You're not going to be talked down to because you're a young man. You're growing, growing to be a young man. And I don't ever want you to think that your feelings are invalid and that you don't deserve the same respect that anybody else gets. But we have this genre of women who think that if a man drops a tear, he weak, and if he's going through something and he can't handle it, he's weak. But they be the first ones that break down and cry and run to the man because they can't handle their situation. So women need to change that attitude. That's my opinion. You know, where
mm-hmm.
we have to support our men and don't throw it back up in his face later. Don't make fun of him. Don't act like he's not supposed to have feelings or mental things going on because a lot of times these men, they going out in the world, they facing things that you don't face. You don't face. You might have a pretty face and a pretty body and everybody laughs and smiles at you, and these black men going out here, they getting dogged. And even if they're not getting dogged, they're not getting the amount of respect that they should. And then he comes home and he's like, oh, I had a rough day or whatever. And then you sitting there chalking it off like it's not nothing. And that's your spouse or your, partner, whatever. I know everybody got a different word for it these days, so I want to be correct. And that's the person that you're supposed to be with, but they can't even come to you. and then you wonder why their mental health is off because they can't even come to the person that they are supposed to trust the most.
Mm-hmm.
The one that they supposed to trust the most. They can't even come to you and say, "Hey, babe, I had a bad day." And I know this might, I know y'all men. This might sound silly, but this really ticked me off today. And then you just listen to them, and you say, "You know what? That is messed up." Well, so what did you do about it? Sometimes it's not even about. They're not looking for a solution. They probably done already figured the solution out in their head. They just want somebody to listen to them. And you're like, "All right, babe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got dinner ready. You take a shower, change your clothes. I'm sorry you had a bad day, and dinner's ready. And guess what? You're home now. You're at peace. You're with your family. And a lot of people don't do that. You know me. I'm huge on mental health for men because they don't get the past that we get. We got menopause. We got postpartum. We got depression. We got all these things. We're allowed to have those things. Am I right or wrong? We're allowed to have those things. They be like, "Oh, girl,
Yep.
I get it. Oh, yes, I understand. You got this going on and this going on." But when it comes to a man, and he says, "You know what? I've been a little depressed, like bitch ass." I'm sorry for the B word, but that's what they call them. P word, B word, everything. Oh, you ain't no real man. You can't handle your emotions. We're all human. We go through things. And guess what? Men go through more than us. I can say that for sure. Especially if
But
you're
I
a
don't
man
know
that's
about
out here trying
more,
to do
but
the
I
right
know
damn
about we
thing.
go. Yeah, yeah,
If you're
and
a
that's the
man out
thing.
here
A lot,
trying to
everything that you
hold on,
touched on.
if you are a man out here trying to do the right thing, trying to provide, trying to protect your family, trying to go to work every day as a black man, and you are doing all of these things, and you're doing them like hands down, and a lot of times he can do it with a smile on his face. It doesn't mean that he isn't going through something. That's why like I said, "Hey, you okay? Is everything okay? You good?" I do wellness checks on my husband. I done added another husband. Lord have mercy. On my husband all the time. Like, "Hey, you good? Talk talk to me about your day. How was it?" And sometimes, look, let me tell you, and I'm gonna keep it a buck. Sometimes I don't want to hear the shit. I ain't gonna lie. I don't. I be like, okay, but I give him my attention and I listen to him. Because sometimes I'm just like, yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds about right, blah, 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 blah. But I do listen to him. But a lot of women be like, "I ain't trying to hear that right now. I got to go do this. I got to do this. I got to do that." No, I'm going to take the time to listen to him. Even if I think it's stupid. Because guess what? They do the same for us. When we come in the house, it's about, "Sheila took my lunch out the refrigerator and she ate my lunch, and then she said something in this, and I know the men be sitting there like, "Oh my God, I do not really want to hear all this because it's already sounding like you the problem right now." But I'm gonna listen to you because I love you, and they hear us out. They hear us out. Why can't we do the same? Am I lying?
No, everything you said was very, very simple. Everything you said was very straightforward. Um, but the biggest problem is that it's always about I in relation to how a lot of women react when we're saying these things to them about what we need. It's always about what she needs, what I want, this, that, and third. And all of the solutions that you said was very, very simple. Close your mouth, be attentive, and just listen to what he has to say in the moment. You don't have to always have a response to everything. Just acknowledge what he's saying. Be there. Sometimes he need a hug. He need to feel your little breasticles on his chesticles. You know what I'm saying? you know, just be there. Like, just do small stuff. Like, we appreciate small, just like when women, they appreciate small things, small gestures sometimes. Because sometimes those small gestures are even more important than the most grandiose ones. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, we're not. And for those of you who think that we're talking about, that I'm sitting here talking about, oh, we need women to solve this and solve. No, that's not what this. I don't know if you caught what Jessica said. She said that we sometimes don't need you to give us a solution or even suggest a solution. We've already worked all that out. We just need to let it out. We don't need to internalize all that. And you're the person who's supposed to be in our lives we can come to with that kind of stuff. Because a lot of the times we hear women talking about they want their best friend as their husband. They want their, they want to romanticize all this stuff. But when it comes to what a man wants to share with you, a lot of the times y'all can't take that. And I don't understand that. This is what you asked for. You don't want a man to cheat. So all his testosterone is gonna flow your way. Don't complain about it. Accept that because he's giving you all the love. So all I'm trying to explain to you is that a lot of the needs or the wants that we want is very, very simple. We don't need you to solve our life problems. We'll figure that out after a while. Now, if you got some good suggestions, we'll take them. But we're not asking you to come in and just solve everything and figure everything out. Y'all got enough on your plate. You got enough going on your own. Then for us to now then expect you to solve our issues and solve all of our problems and solve this and solve that, we're not asking you for that. So for those of you who are automatically assume that that's what it is, we're not asking you for that. When we talk about
No,
men's mental health, don't add to the problem. That's what I'm talking about. Don't add to the problem. When he
just
comes
was
home,
there was
he shouldn't have to
there
wait
was
in the
a
car. Puff. He
there
shouldn't
was
have to
a
do that before he come in the house because he knows.
there's a video. Did you show that or did I watch it? It was the
I'm
guy
not
that
sure.
was sitting out. It was the guy that was sitting outside. It was a white guy, and he was looking at a spool of wire, and the wire was almost gone. And then the wife came out, and the wife was like, "What are you doing out here? Like, I'm a little worried about you. You're just sitting out here looking at this wire." And he looks at the spool. He says, "I've had this spool of wire for 40 years, and it's almost gone." And she proceeded to pretty much dismiss whatever he would have probably said. We don't know because she dismissed it. And she said something about, I think he had like a Jets hat on or something like that, like a football hat that he normally doesn't wear or something like that. And he was trying to explain to her, like, this is 40 years of my life that I've had this spool and it's almost gone. And instead of taking the opportunity to just sit with him and reflect whatever he wanted to say,
Mm-hmm.
she dismissed it. Like, I'm kind of concerned about you because you're out here looking at this spool of wire and you have your Jets hat on, and I'm a little bit concerned. And then he pretty much ended the video at that, like, well, you know what, never mind. I don't even want to talk anymore
Mm-hmm.
now. And like that one hit me hard because I know if I'm looking at something that I've had for 40 years and it's almost out, I'm probably looking at it the same way. Like, damn, I've had this for 40 years. It's almost out. For whatever reason, I might have this wire. Let me reflect on my life and the things that I've gone through. That was an opportunity for her to sit and just talk to him. And she decided to take that moment. Oh, please find it. Look in YouTube and put "man with spool of wire" and wife. I bet you it'll pop up.
Huh?
That was a very, very, I want to say, magnetic video. I said magnetic for a reason because it
Okay.
really draws you into the true sense of how a woman can dismiss something very simply, because men think more simply, and she dismissed it. as if it meant nothing. And to him, that meant everything. Like I said, I would have taken the moment like, yeah, and the kids have grown and we got some. You found
Hey,
it.
what are you doing? I came out to check on you.
Yep.
Huh? What are you doing? Thought you were working. I'm looking at this. What is it? It's wire. It's a spool of wire. And I'm almost out of it. Can you see the spool of wire? Mm-hmm. I'm almost out of it. Okay. And I've had this spool of wire for like 40 years. Mm-hmm. I bought it like this it's on a piece of a long time ago, but it's like 40 years of my life. It's in the wire and it's gone. Does that make sense? This is what's left. I'm sorry to hear that and sad for you, but you're wearing your Jets hat, and I'm a little concerned right now that you're wearing your Jets hat. Mm-hmm. I thought that's why you were crying. Okay.
Completely dismissed it. Completely dismissed it. She completely failed the mission. Completely failed the mission. That one hit me hard. I was like, wow. She could have sat with her husband. Some people and she was so quick to dismiss it. I'm worried about you got your Jeff hat on.
Did you see his follow up to that mid video?
No.
Some people that said it was a setup or no, dude. I had this feeling about this as I was using this wire a couple weeks ago, and I kept thinking about it. And, I decided to just put it on and talk about my life. Feels like it's dwindling. Blindsided my wife. I asked her to come out and film this because I had this feeling that I just wanted to put this on something, and I did. She had no idea, and she made a joke about my Jets hat, and many people took that as really poor taste. She's the most loving, amazing person I've ever had. Our communication is incredible. What we do have to talk about at the end of the day is men, women, everybody being listened to, because that struck a nerve in a lot of people. There are some people that said. Some people that said.
So wait, he made excuses for her?
I thought I was the only person that caught that, but I forgot who I was on here with.
Excuses for her? I could see the pain in his face in the first video. Like, really? Yeah. That's what you're asking me right now? Wow.
So for what I caught from what he just said was, and this is what just happened, right? He explained what that school, and he didn't even have to say it, because from the first video, I immediately knew what he was talking about. Mm-hmm. He didn't even have to say it here, but he did. He explained it. Because when I saw it, when he said he had it for 40 years and he's almost out of it, I immediately related the two, his life and the spool of wire. I immediately related to what he was talking about. It causes him to think about his life and how quick it goes and all this other stuff. So as a man, the very first thing he thought to do was protect his wife. He said everybody felt some kind of way about the video and stuff like that, as they should have, because everybody saw it for what it is. When you're in the situation, you don't see it from the outside looking in. You don't hear it different. You don't hear it the same. What all of us saw, including you, because you brought it to my attention, was that she was very dismissive about what it was and why that mattered at that moment. In that moment, why he was thinking about this spool of wire that was almost gone. She didn't ask any questions. It was that moment. It was dismissive. It wasn't her listening to anything else he had to say. Nobody ever said she wasn't a loving wife. We don't know her. But in that moment, it was very dismissive. I'm sorry. It just was. and her and him being in love with his wife, because obviously he's in love with his wife. The very first thing he thought to do was protect his wife and put himself on the back burner. Yet again, another example of that happening with men. So
but we call that,
that's my take on his follow-up video.
People call that what, toxic masculinity.
I don't know if you call that toxic masculinity.
I've seen it. Like that one hurt.
Example of toxic masculinity.
That one actually literally hurt. I remember that one hurt my heart because I was watching it and I was like, and like you said, as soon as he was explaining, once he said 40 years, I was like, he's thinking about his life and the things that he's gone through, and maybe the birth of his kids or jobs or his marriage, and he's just looking at this spool of wire, and then she's just like, well, you have your Jets hat on, and I'm really concerned. And I'm like, that's what you thought to say? You couldn't just sit down next to him and be like, yeah, I understand, because, hey, and by the way, remember when such and such was born and we did this, and like that was an opportunity to have like a really great conversation with your husband. That's what I would have done. There's been times where, okay, I'll give a good example. I've lost both of my parents, and I'm only 48, and both of my parents are gone. And so there's times where I might be looking at a photo album, or whatever. I might be in my little feelings, and Billy will come out or come over to me, and he'll hold me. Not like big old hug, just, an arm on the shoulder, and he'll look at the pictures with me, and he'll say, well, who is that? Or where was this at? And now, maybe he don't care. I'm not saying he doesn't. Maybe he don't care. Let's just say that for an example. But he makes the effort to be there in the time when I need him, because at that time I'm not feeling so happy. I'm going through something. But we expect that of our men to do that. But again, with that example, when the woman comes out and says, oh, well, you're wearing your Jets hat, I'm concerned. I'm just like, I can't say the word because of where we are. I'm just like, heifer, what? That was your response? You could have had a better response than that. Even if you didn't care. Even if you don't care. That's still your husband. And then to find out that afterwards, because I know she got drug in the comment section, he still had the decency as a man to come out and defend his wife. I don't know.
Yeah. And that right there, that's one piece of the puzzle, is that it's really easy to dismiss a man and strike or dismiss these type of moments because you feel justified in the way you handle the situation. This ain't about you. Understand, this ain't about you. It is, but it isn't. It's not about you. It is about how you handled his situation or his moment. That was his moment. He was reflecting on something and you missed that moment.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's the little small things that you miss because you want to feel justified in your reaction. First of all, your reaction isn't necessary all the time. Sometimes it's just good to just listen. Sometimes it's good to listen for comprehension, because if you jump off the rails because you are super emotional or ready to react, sometimes you miss it. You miss comprehending what the moment actually means. And if that's what you're going to do, then what are you really in a relationship for?
And hell, I'll say that.
Yeah.
And I say this, and hell, there's a golden rule. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, shut the hell up. You could have very simply said, okay, but even if that's the case, okay, baby, Well, I'm gonna go in and prepare dinner. Let's just say, for example, I'm gonna go in and prepare dinner. Um, Granted, I still think the first option is better. She should have sat down and spoke with her husband. But again, even if that's not your forte, okay, well, I love you. I'm gonna go in and prepare dinner. And he could have sat out there and reminisced and did what he did, but you just completely dismissed everything that he was feeling. And like when he got up, like, you know what, I don't even want to talk no more. I felt that for him. I felt that for him. I would never do that to my husband. Not a nope. And Billy talks a lot.
And it was an honest reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sincere reaction because it was his first reaction after she mentioned his Jets hat. He's telling you about the spool, and the very first thing you come out of your mouth with is you wearing Jets hat. How did that relate to what he was talking about at all?
Exactly.
How what? So in that moment, his genuine reaction was the real reaction. His rebuttal afterwards, okay, you want to protect your wife and all that, but we who see what we see and call it as we see it, we seen what happened. That was your genuine response. You can't sit there and say it wasn't your genuine response. You were disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't feel heard. You didn't feel listened to.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a genuine response, and you shouldn't feel guilty for that. You shouldn't feel the need to have to cover your wife. First of all, your wife should be the one on there apologizing. That's what should be happening. So don't do that. Like a lot of men, they are in love with their wives. They love their wives. To the soul, they love their wives. But sometimes it's to a detriment because now you've taken away what's important for you for the sake of someone else. And that person is wrong in how they handle you and your situation.
And like I said earlier, and I'm speaking for myself, like Billy's my best friend. And if I can't go to Billy about things or he can't come to me about things, then why are we together?
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm just saying, why are we together? If you can't trust me and I can't trust you, that I can come to you about something and you can have some empathy for whatever I may be going through and vice versa, I can have empathy for what you're going through, then what's the point, in my opinion? Because I'm supposed to be I'm supposed to be your right hand. You supposed to be my left hand. We in this together. So if you going through something, you supposed to be able to come and talk. Matter of fact, I'd be mad if I found out that he went and talked to somebody else. You talk to somebody else, but you ain't come to me. I'm your wife. You already know I ain't about that. Where I'm gonna dismiss you or act some type of way. You went to somebody else and not me. And he will probably feel the same way. Like for real, you called Dedrick. You ain't talked to me about it, but you called Dedrick. I'm your husband. You supposed to talk to me about it. And I'm gonna be here. So, again, I don't know. That's just my marriage. I can't speak on nobody else's relationship, but me and Billy, we talk about everything. And I will never dismiss his feelings, even if I think they're stupid. Because guess what? He doesn't dismiss my feelings when he thinks they're stupid. And I can assure you, there are sometimes he thinks my feelings are stupid. That's most men. Am I lying? Y'all be like, she doing too much. You know what?
Nope.
She doing too much. But that's my lady. That's my
Mm-hmm.
wife. That's my lady. That's my fiance. That's my partner. And guess what? I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna listen to her. And if she wants advice, I give her the advice. If she don't want advice, at least I'm gonna sit here and listen to her. Y'all do it for us, but we can't do it for y'all. Nah. Well, that don't happen in the field house. And y'all ladies need to get up on that. Cause I guarantee you it'll make your relationship like 100 times better. You wondering what? Hold on, I'm gonna say the ooh. I'm gonna say the quiet part out loud. Then y'all wondering why he done found himself a side chick that listened to him, or the work wife. Let's say the work wife. He be at work and he be complaining, and she be like, "Oh, let me hear about it. Oh, that's so terrible. Oh, it's gonna be okay." I brought then the next day. I brought. I was thinking about you, and I brought lunch. I brought an extra plate. Then you wonder why the work wife got your man because she the one listening to him and you ain't. Boop. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm not lying though.
Hey, let me this one should give you a nice little giggle. This one just popped up. It says because you men um mental health isn't any more important than women's mental health. You have to share the road, bruh. It's not all about you.
Yeah, you gonna have to I gotta find. Can you send that to the chat so I can jump up in these
Yeah, yeah.
comments? Yeah,
Because see, and what I answered was, what made you think this was a competition?
but it's not about that
What
though. It's
made
not
you
even
think that
about.
this was a competition? I said nothing. I said
But what
nothing
it but what
about
it
women.
is that women are
Yet,
allowed. The difference is that women are allowed to have these issues, and men are not supposed to have these issues. So when things happen with women mentally, I'll give an example. Let's say there's a horrific tragedy, right? With a mother and her child.
uh-huh.
Let's say this woman neglects, abuse, or even worse to this child, right? And then they'll say, well, she had postpartum depression, and she didn't have any much help and things like that, and so I can understand why, and we need to do these things to ensure that this doesn't happen again, right? But now let the shoe be on the other foot. Let it be a father who has his child or children, and let's say he does the same thing. He's automatically deemed a monster. Am I lying? He's gonna they're not gonna say,
No,
well, how was his mental health? Did he have help? Was the village there beside him and trying to help him to take care of these children? No, they're automatically gonna demonize him because he's a man. But if it's a woman, oh, we have excuses for days to say, oh, she was going through this and she was going through that and she didn't have any help and nobody. So there is definitely a double standard when it comes to um the mental health of women versus men. It just is what it is. Now, in one aspect, let me say this and then I'll stop. In one aspect, I can understand it to a small degree because we are emotional beings and men are expected to be more logical beings. So, to a very small extent, I can understand how there are some things that would affect women differently than it would affect men. However, at the end of the day, there is still a huge double standard when it comes to men's mental health and women's mental health. And especially in this day and age where I ain't trying to be funny, but some of the men that are being raised, they already not mentally stable. I'm trying to be nice. They're already not mentally stable. So they already got it against them, you know. Um, but yeah, like that was an ignorant comment that she made. I don't know.
so so I have a
It's
question.
all
I have this question. So, and I mentioned the root. They're getting to the root cause of this thing. for most of the men who are mentally unstable, what kind of home do they come from?
Single mamas.
Do they come from a
Single mamas.
you know?
Single mamas.
Because my thing is that when you find guys who are superly, I just made up a new word, who are super emotional or super, they're just touchy about everything. The majority of them came from a single mother home.
Yep.
Now, again, I'm not blaming women entirely. No, I'm not. But when we start talking about mentally unstable men and stuff like that, a lot of stuff people try to over. I'm not going to glaze over anything. A lot of the times, and is it true that men clown men for being emotional or expressing themselves? Yes, that's true. Is it true that women do the same thing? Yes, it's true. A lot of the time, and I've seen it, I've witnessed this with my eyes, my own eyes and ears. Hear mothers tell their kid, their boy child, you better cut all that crying out. You ain't no girl. You a boy. You supposed to be strong. I've heard it. So please don't dismiss what we're saying when we say these things. Please don't. And don't dismiss it and then deflect it, saying that, well, men are the ones that don't support. You're not wrong, but you're not entirely either. Because what you're not doing is making sure that you're accountable too with your boys. If you're going to say, well, I always encourage my boys to be let their emotions out and there has to be a healthy balance, ladies and gentlemen. There has to be a healthy balance. We are not built the same. We are not the same.
Yep.
We are not equal human beings. Equal rights, yes. Human rights, yes. But equal, as in men and women, we've never been. So to sit there and think that we're supposed to react and respond the same way, not gonna happen. It's not going to happen. But there are ways to teach your boys, if you have boys, how to properly digest, process, and express their emotions, regardless of what those emotions are. And you got to teach them how to do it in a healthy way.
And I'll add this: when I yell single mamas, it's not because I was trying to be disrespectful to single mamas, because I know some single moms that do the damn thing. They do the damn thing. My best friend is a single mother of 4.
Yeah.
She does the damn thing. She got 4 boys at that. So I'm not trying to tear down anybody. But there are certain characteristics that, a lot of times when I see certain behaviors, I can tell that they're being raised in an unbalanced environment. And for example, I am married. I have 3 children with my husband, and there's a balance. My husband is one of those, I ain't gonna lie, he's one of those, man, stop acting like a little girl, man. Come on. Get your butt up and blah, 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 blah. But then you have mom that later on are going to say, okay, so what's going on, baby? Let's talk about it. Is there something you want to talk about? So there's a balance in our household. It doesn't mean that one person's word supersedes the other or that we're trying to go against one another. It's not that at all. It's just that we have a balance in our home. So therefore our sons understand it's okay to have emotions, but there's a certain way that you have to go about expressing them. There's a certain way that, like for example, when William gets really, 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 really mad, like sometimes he gets really mad, I give him an axe. And this is mom. I give him an axe. You see my house, I got trees for days. And I say, go chop down the tree and because I want some wood for the fire pit. I need you to take out your anger because I need you to understand that you can't express exactly what you want to express all the time. So I need you to channel that energy into something else. I mean, it's just a balance. And I'm sorry, a lot of single mothers, not just single mothers, because I'm gonna keep it a buck. A lot of times, the single mothers got mothers that are single mothers. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but they don't even have a husband. The grandma, there's only grandma, right? Or your aunties. So they're being raised in a pretty heavy matriarch um, family. And that's why you see a lot of these young men react to certain things the way that they do and handle things that the way that they are, because that's what they're learning. They're not seeing it from a man's point of view. And that's why I encourage, when I was a youth mentor, I always encourage single mothers. I said, look, if the dad's not an option, look, it's not my business. Whatever happened between y'all, that's y'all business. But if the dad is not an option, can you please find a mentor? Put them into sports. Maybe there's a favorite teacher that wouldn't mind stepping in and mentoring your child. Do you have a brother, a uncle, a cousin? Because that young man, he's going to need that type of guidance eventually. I'm not saying you're doing a bad job, but eventually that young man is going to need guidance from other young men.
But that's absolutely true. That influence has to come from somewhere, or they're going to be lacking in some space, in their mental, and stuff like that. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying that women cannot raise decent human beings, but a woman has no experience being a man, so they're going to be things that are not taught to him as a man if there is no proper male influence. Now, again, you can say you did it all by yourself, but I promise you that boy has been influenced by other male, in his life. You cannot do it all. You can raise a good human being. You can do that. But there are key elements in a man's psyche, in a male psyche, that cannot be employed by you. Sorry, it's just not there. You've never experienced being a boy. You've never experienced the life happenings of a boy growing into adolescence, into manhood. You have no clue. I'm sorry. You just don't have a clue. Same way I couldn't go and raise a daughter, say I can relate to the things that she's going through, because I cannot. I need a woman's influence to teach my daughter what she needs to know in certain aspects. I can teach her how to be a decent human being. I'm aware, young lady, an upstanding young lady. I can teach her those principles, but a lot of the times there are certain things that are lacking. And I've seen situations where the woman is calling her toddler boy the man of the house. Excuse me? How you do that? You teaching him things that he should not be taught in that way. You're dressing him like you would want your man to dress. Seriously? How you doing that? And you think that as that child grows up, that influence does not affect that boy. Those influences affect boys. They do. So if you're sitting there under the impression that you're just the perfect mother, it'll be evident in your children. I promise you. It'll be evident whether you are or you're not.
Right.
And a lot of you can't be accountable to save your life. Because if somebody says anything that your child went and done, not your child, be my child, and then you're going to want to fight the teacher. You're going to want to fight other people for saying something to your child for acting out of order, and you've never taught the child, that boy, not to act a certain way or be a certain way. Boys and girls, they can't. Certain principles are not taught to boys and girls the same way because they don't affect them the same way. Certain things do, and certain things don't.
Right.
So to think that just because you teach a child one thing, it has nothing to do with their mental health, it does. It
I
does.
mean, that's like, you know,
And
there
for
are.
some reason, a lot of people don't get that.
I mean, and again, as a married woman, you know, there are certain things I know I cannot teach my sons. There are certain times where the boys ask me a question and I'm like, Billy, the boys need to talk to you, you know? And then there's certain times where Monica might ask a question and he'd be like, hey, babe, Monica asked me a question. She needs you. And I'd be like, all right, cool. You know, that doesn't mean one parent is better than the other. It just means that we all have our roles to play in raising our children. That's why it's it's biology. Like it's biology. There's a reason why there's a man and a woman, and a man and a woman can create a child. So the same way, if a man and a woman create a child, it should be obvious that it takes a man and a woman to raise that same child. Because obviously there's a balance there, and there's things that need to be learned from each person. I'm teaching you how to cook, clean, and it's not just about chores. Let me be very clear. I'm teaching you how to cook and how to clean, how to deal with your emotions, on a caretaking side, a nurturing side. And your father is going to teach you how to cut the grass and change the oil and think of things in a logical sense when certain situations arise so that you can get the best outcome at the end of the day. Because us women don't always think logically. I admit that as a woman. There's been a couple of instances that I've gone through with my husband, and I tried to keep him out of it only because I wasn't really trying to worry. I'm like, I got it. I can do this. Whatever. I got this. And then it got to the point where I was like, okay, I don't got this. And then as soon as I told my husband, he was like, he fixed it in like 12 minutes. And he was like, why didn't you just tell me? I was like, I wasn't trying to bother you with that. You know, you work and, you know, I'm at home. So I just figured I can handle it. And he was like, okay, but I handled it in 12 minutes. You were reacting emotionally versus me reacting logically. And I solved it in 12 minutes. And I'm a woman and I can admit to that. I'm like, oh, so now after a few times of learning that lesson, now any and everything, I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. Do you want to handle it? How do you think we should handle it? What do we do moving forward? Whatever the whatever the questions may be. But not because he's so much wiser than me, but logically he is. Now, if we want to do like nurturing and caretaking and emotionally, I'm the person to come to. If we want logic, quick resolution, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be him because he's not thinking with his emotions, he's thinking logically. And that's the kind of man that you're supposed to want. That's the kind of man that you're supposed to marry. And if that's not the man that you have, you see my face, that's a you problem because you picked them, But we complain about those types of men, but they pick them. I picked a good one. No. Yeah, I did pick him because I bagged him. Anyways. but but at the end of the day, when I bagged him, I didn't know he was this good. So I'm gonna give him credit. But it's just I don't know, this whole gender thing and men and women and men don't need women and men don't need women don't need men, and it's detrimental, especially to our community of Black people. We got to stop that because now I will say there are some men I wouldn't trust to get me out of a wet paper bag because they just don't have those skills. But then going back to what you said, where did they learn that from? It's
Right.
likely, I'm not saying always, but it's likely that they didn't have a father figure in their lives. And if they did,
That too.
he was probably not a very good father figure. So, I mean, it can happen in both instances. That's what I'm saying. Um, so yeah.
But that's the truth of it all. Everybody plays a part in the mental health of another. Everybody plays a part, whether you realize it or not. Everybody plays that part. What you instill in your children, that carries forward. And that's positive or negative. That's positive or negative, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're constantly telling a boy what he isn't, he's going to believe it eventually. If you're constantly telling a boy that he's amazing, or a girl that she's amazing, or telling that little girl that her dark brown skin is absolutely beautiful, and you've been telling this child this since she was a baby, guess what she's going to do? She's going to grow up believing it. If you tell this child that she's gorgeous every time you get a chance, guess what? She's going to grow up believing it. If you tell this boy that you going to be just like your daddy, just trifling, you going to think about this. Every time that boy hears that, he's going to start to believe that that's what he is, because you are instilling that into that child that's what you're supposed to be. You're gonna be just like your daddy, just trifling. Well, guess what? Since you already made up in your mind what he's supposed to be, some guys will concede to that.
Right.
Y'all
now
have to
you
understand.
will
Y'all
you will have.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say now you will have certain situations where they will defy the odds.
Yeah, I was gonna get there. I was gonna get there.
Yeah, yeah.
But my
Like
thing is
for
that,
example, real quick, my sister, like I ain't gonna get deep into her business, but she just wasn't right. And I remember my dad always telling me I'm gonna be like my sister and da da da. And you know what my main goal was? To not be like my sister.
yeah.
So you do have some times where people will defy, but unfortunately, I don't think it's the majority.
No, but my thing is, it's just like what you just said, and I was going to get there, but you have to understand that child has to have something different about them, something special about them, and they most likely had an influence outside of of your negativity that pushed them to be something different. And my whole point to saying what I just said was, as a parent, whether you are a single mother or a single father, as a parent, you have to defy the odds by yourself. You have to defy it, because nobody's really expecting a whole lot. Some people are going to pour into you because they see greatness in you. They're going to see that. And as a result, hopefully you're one of those people that pours greatness right back into your children. Your life was hard, and you don't want your children to have a hard life. So you're going to teach them the lessons that you learned. And hopefully you're smart enough to do that. And a lot of women, they do that. A lot of you, because like Jessica just said, she knows some hella good single mothers. I do too. I really do. And they've defied the odds, and their kids are married or productive in society. There's a lot that's going on, and they push their children and they encourage their children. They do everything that they got to do to make sure those children know that you are great. Don't let anybody else stop you. Don't stump your growth, blah, blah, blah. Everything ain't been easy for them, but they do not pass negativity onto their children. They don't make grown folk business their children's business. They handle their children like their children. They handle their business in their own personal life for the benefit of their children and themselves, but they do what they're supposed to do when it comes to raising those children the best they can. And I commend women and men when they do that. You know what I'm saying? So my whole point is that you got to be very, very careful about what you're pouring into your children, what you're exposing your children to. And you got to understand, like, what your children learn on the inside of the house is what they display on the outside of the house. And that's just the truth. And when we're talking about mental health, whether it's men's mental health or little girls' mental health, it all matters. It all ties into each other. So please stop dismissing when it comes to the topic of men's mental health. Because the reason why I don't mention little girls' mental health all the time, because we always are taught that we need to acknowledge women's feelings, little girls' feelings. Why are they crying? We got to hug them, to soothe them, and all this other stuff. Women are nurturers by nature. However, we have to make sure we understand that it's always been something that was always addressed. You might want to sit there and go to, oh, well, the studies have been started by men, blah, blah, blah. Listen, we're talking about the men that are in your life, that touches your life, that you see every day, your boy children. We're talking about those men and young men and boys. That's what we're talking about here. Don't tell me nothing about what history dictates or says about decades of studies and how wrong they did women. This ain't about women. Stay focused.
And let's talk about the
Now,
right here and now.
Right. And then on top of that, and I'm in no way saying that women's mental health isn't important too, because women go through a whole hell of a lot they shouldn't have to go through. So I'm not discounting women, but when I'm talking about men's mental health, stay focused. That's what we're talking about. When we talk about women and what the things that women go through, I'm gonna talk about some things that I observe and seen and hear, but mostly it's gonna be Miss Fields talking. Mostly, hopefully, we'll have other women on the panel doing the most talking, because I'm not a woman. I can tell you what my life experience has shown me. I can tell you what my life experience of these 50 years have allowed me to hear from their mouths. I can see what experiences some women have gone through. I've heard it a lot. However, I can never tell you from a first-person perspective what women feel, what they feel. How do I look like saying if Jessica asked me a question or ask a general question about women, right? So does men think that we're supposed to just sit back and I don't know what a good question would be, but and I sit there and answer for no. How do I want to phrase it? But if she asked me a question about what I think women are expecting men to do, I'm like, first of all, I'm not a woman, so I can't tell you what a woman is expecting men to do. I can tell you what I think, but I can't tell you with any certainty or accuracy what a woman feels about a certain thing or what she thinks about a certain thing. I can only tell you what my observation tells me, and that's it. I can't tell you nothing else. So a lot of the times when these type of questions are asked and a woman chimes in and says, no, because they won't da, 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 da. First of all, and I just asked this woman, how do you presume to speak for men? This woman just asked, do y'all expect us to start everything and do everything for y'all? I said no. You, on the other hand, say, yep, because if we don't do it, it ain't gonna get done. If we don't, okay. Since you got all the answers, let it be what it is then. Because if you don't sit there and you listen to what men actually are saying, what's the point in even having a conversation? Just like I just told this young lady, I asked a direct question. The question wasn't a trick question. The question had nothing to do with nothing. It wasn't a trick question, I promise you. It was a direct question to spark a conversation, a discussion about what you think about the topic. I wasn't asking you to agree with me or disagree with me. This is a question. This is a why type of answer. This one lady says, well, you didn't say that only men are supposed to answer. I didn't ask for only men to answer. But you can go on here and say what you think we feel or what we're doing. First of all, you don't know about most of our groups because guess what? You're not in the groups. These are men-only groups. So you're not going to know anything about them. You're not going to be in the groups to know what we talk about. Because if men need their own safe space, we're going to create it. We didn't ask you to do anything. So why is it that you guys are sitting there assuming that we're asking you to do something outside of not be part of the problem?
See, for me, like
Is that unreasonable?
for me, so I can only speak for myself. Like my uncle had a barbershop. So I used to make money on the side, working at the barbershop, sweeping up the hair and stuff like that. Um, all of my cousins, besides like maybe two, were all males. I always hung with my grandfathers, always. My dad pretty much raised me most of my life, not my mother. So, like for me, I've been around men for so long, and so I observed and I paid attention. And I guess that's why my outlook is a lot different than other women's because I pay attention to the men in my circle, and I always have. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's no different than like my sons. I have two sons, 13 and 12 now. And they got sense. And I say that to say that they know that they can express themselves in a manner, but they also understand that there's a border that they shouldn't, a fine line in the sand that they shouldn't cross, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Um, but it's like simple things because I'm like, let's say for example, if they're getting teased on the Xbox because they're losing, and I'm like, if you start crying and yelling and screaming, they're just gonna tease you more. So you might want to calm that down a couple of notches because now they're just gonna mess with you a little more because they already know how to get to you, right? Um, I done lost my train of thought. I don't know. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. I apologize, y'all. I lost my train of thought. I
Well,
just I don't understand what the big deal is about not acknowledging that men, boys, also go through mental health issues, and we can't just continue. I guess I'll end it like this: we can't just continue to sweep that shit under the rug and act like because they have balls that they're not supposed to feel a certain way or that they can't react to, or that we can't teach them how to react in a better manner. And I think that's the problem in this day and age is that we have a lot of young men who are reacting in a way that is not conducive um, to being productive, where they're just acting emotionally because a lot of times they are raised by single mothers or a matriarch. It doesn't just have to be a single mother. It could be a single mother, your grandmother, your aunts. I tend to see that when there's more of a matriarch than a patriarch, that they are very easily triggered and react differently than someone who is raised in a mainly patriarch family, if that makes sense.
I can see that in a lot of ways. Uh, so, in response to the original question, I had this one was interesting to me. So she says that this is truly laughable. Since when do men prioritize what women feel, let alone think? Men can't handle their own emotions, so they laugh at ours, unless they can be the hero of some sort. The hero, of course. So be for real. Male loneliness will never be solved when men can't take accountability for how they treat the other half of the world. Women do so much emotional work. We can't do any more when it is not reciprocated. And your response
wait,
in the comments just proved that. Really?
wait.
How?
Oh, I got it. Let me answer that. Because when you sit down and talk to, and I learned
Okay.
this a long time ago, very, very long time ago, but nevertheless, I learned it. When you sit down and talk to a man, if I sit down and talk to you, Dedrick, if I call you and say, hey, I got a situation going on, this is what's going on. Before I even, like, the first 7 words, you are already formulating a solution. You're listening to me, but you're already on the form of, okay, how can we resolve this problem? Now, this is something that I do with my friends and my family. When they want to come into me, I ask them flat out, do you just want to vent or do you want a solution? Because if you just want to vent, let me know. Because then I don't have to start thinking and burn my damn brain cells because you're not going to listen to my solution anyway. But most men in your life, if you come to them with a problem, immediately their first go to is while you're talking, they're already formulating the solution to the problem. But women don't do that. They just want to talk. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
So we
Okay.
have to understand that our communication skills, well, not skills. I don't want to say skills because that doesn't mean that you're not skillful in communication. Our communication is different when it comes to what we're trying to do in the situation in itself. Oh, give me 1 second. My family just pulled up. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So
The Fields family just pulled up. Go ahead.
okay, well, I'm not gonna hold you long because I know you got to go ahead and engage. But
Oh no,
but
you're
I get
good. I'm just good. You good.
yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And it's true, and whatnot. I just think that a lot of the times, like this young lady here who had this soliloquy that she did, she said that I didn't prioritize how the women in the thread that I was responding to. She said I was just arguing with them back and forth. I said, well, here's the deal. It's not an argument to me. I'm responding to what you're saying. So if any man has anything to say about anything a woman has to say, they're arguing with it. First of all, if you're getting it wrong and I'm trying to clarify some things for you and you don't want to accept it, now it's just an argument. First of all, I'm not arguing with women about nothing. Now, if you're getting it wrong and you refuse to see what it is, I'm going to try to clarify a few times. And then after I see that you just stuck in the sand, I'm gonna let you stay in the sand. Because it's obvious you've already got your mind made up about what you think men want. You already got your mind made up. So why would I continue to argue with you? I'm going to try to clarify a few things for you a few times. After that, I'm done. I let people stay stuck. If you want to stay stuck, I will allow you to stay stuck. And it's cool. You can stay stuck. You carry on your life the way you want to carry it on because it has no influence on me. I have emotional intelligence. I'm not going to sit there and throw a temper tantrum because you disagree with me. No. Or that you had a different opinion than me. No, that's not how I rock. However, if I'm clarifying something for you and you're making statements that clearly you shouldn't be making, and I'm going to address it because you're on my post. Keep in mind, you made a decision to be on my post. So if you're on my post, how you going to complain that I'm responding to the people on my post? Just don't respond. If you don't want nobody to respond to you. So if you're saying something that is fundamentally wrong as a woman about men, first of all, you've never been a man. So how are you going to tell me what we think? How are you going to tell me what we feel? How are you going to tell us what we're doing for ourselves if you don't always see everything? You're not going to see everything. Sometimes men get these safe havens and they keep it for themselves because they want you interfering with it. So my whole point is if everything a man says you're going to just dismiss, deflect, and then spin it and make it about you, what's the point in even having the conversation? That makes no sense. And then the one lady says, "Oh well, it's laughable because when have you guys ever prioritized all the time? Men prioritize women all the time. What are you talking about? I don't understand.
Like, check this. There was a couple of posts that I saw. I just like bookmarked myself because I wanted to read the comments. I ain't really participate. But they were talking about how, like, 300,000 black women were fired and, women's rights and in both, there's like 3 different posts. And they all said, where are our men? And I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting, right? And that's why I bookmarked myself in the comments because I already knew what it was going to be. It was going to be, y'all already told us that y'all don't need us. Y'all don't want us. We're undesirable. We ain't shit. So now all of a sudden you losing jobs or whatever the case may be. And now you're looking for men to come and rescue you. But all this time you've been telling us that you don't need us. And I'm telling you, I bookmarked each and every one because I was like, I want to see these comments. And the comments did not fail me. And damn near 98% of the comments were just that. I thought you said you didn't need us. Y'all are screaming to the rooftops that y'all don't need men. Y'all independent. Y'all got this. So now all of a sudden that things is going wrong or whatever you may say it may be. Now you're talking about where are our men? Yeah, no. You ain't listen to us then. We sitting this one out. And I couldn't even be mad at the comments. And I'm a woman. Like I be wanting to defend what I can defend. If I can defend, I want to defend my sisters. But I was reading the comments, I was like, ooh, shit. That was a good yeah, no, I ain't got nothing on that. But it's true. Women go through and through. We don't need men, and this, and that, and y'all ain't this, y'all ain't that. But then when shit hit the fan, it's like, well, where are the men at? That's why matter of fact, that's what it said. That's why we need feminism. That's what it said. That's why we need feminism because the men ain't stepping up. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. So I just put a little period. You know how you just put a period in the comments so you can follow it. I said, yeah, I'm about to follow this. This is about to be good. And them men drug her. And I couldn't even be mad at them.
You remember at the beginning of the show, I told you I was at 15,300 views?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's at 17,000 now.
Yeah, make sure you send it to mine because I want to get up in them comments. I have TikTok.
I already sent it to you. I already messaged you. But yeah,
I'm about to have fun
crazy.
now.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've never had this kind of engagement on any one post ever. This is amazing, and it's over 1,871 comments already.
But again, it's sad that, and I already know what I'm going to see for the majority of the comments. I already know, and it's sad. As a mother of 2 sons, as a wife of a husband, as a aunt of a nephew, brothers that I respect, such as yourself. I can name many others, but I'm not gonna put them on. Shoot, even Maurice ass, who gets on my nerves. We have solid men. And the fact that a lot of people really, truly, a lot of women. Let me rephrase that. You won't say it, but I will. A lot of women really do not care about the mental health of men And I think that that is very, very sad because we expect for them to care for our mental health, and it should go both ways. That's just my stance on that.
Yeah.
You know, like I said,
I,
I check in with Billy all the time. I check in with my sons. If my sons is acting some kind of way, like I ain't seen them but like 20 minutes out the day, I'm like, hey, yo, you good? You need to talk? Like, you and your girlfriend still together? Like, I ask questions, like, you good?
hmm.
Because I want them to know that your mental health matters. If you're going through something, you don't have to go through it by yourself. And I'm here to talk to you. And guess what? If I can't solve your problem or help you, you got a father, you got a papa, you got an uncle, you got friends, you got cousins. You can call any one of them, even if you don't want to tell me what it is. Call somebody if you feeling some type of way, because we find that a lot of times the men that unalive themselves, they didn't have nobody. They didn't have nobody to reach out to, or they were too ashamed. Let's maybe rephrase that. They were too ashamed to reach out to somebody because they're supposed to be a man and they're just supposed to handle it. No, we're all human beings. We're all human. And emotions is emotions and feelings is feelings. And we don't know what the next person is going through, what they've gone through, or what they've endured. So like just stop and just let's treat each other like human beings instead of, oh, he's a man, he's supposed to take that, he's supposed to eat that. No. Mm-mm. And let me tell y'all,
And
y'all look, and y'all can stay away from my sons with that mess. Cause I'm the light skinned Medea.
I feel you on that. And the thing and the biggest thing is, man, is when we talk about subjects like this, stop being so dismissive. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's discuss. Let's have the real discussion. This is one of the reasons why we created this platform so we can have real discussions, not these watered down, same old run of the mill situations where everybody's talking over each other, everybody's not listening and stuff like that. It's always chaos and stuff. Listen, let's talk about these situations. And for those of you that has a particular adverse opinion of me, that's okay. That just tells me you don't really know me. You're not asking the right questions. And I'm gonna tell you right now, Miss Fields would not be on this podcast with me if I was a male chauvinistic pig. She wouldn't be on this podcast if I was narcissistic. She wouldn't be on this
Hell
podcast
no.
with me if I was a person who couldn't take accountability. If I was a person who always bashed women. She's not going to be a part of something like that. I can
I
promise you that.
promise you. I
So
promise.
my thing is I like to listen to both sides, whether they disagree, not agree, whatever. But I like to hear everybody's perspectives on things because people's perspectives give you some insight on how people think, how people view things. That's why we have these conversations. It's not to bash another sex. It's not to bash each other. You understand? That's one of the reasons why when we were talking, unless we're using quotes or something like that, we don't use the B word and the N word. Because I'm not going to condone somebody coming on here calling another young lady, a woman, the B word. Or guys come on here thinking they can just jive talk and call each other the N word. First of all, you can do that in your personal life. But when you're on this platform, you're going to respect that because we respect each other. If you're quoting something or whatever, okay, that's fine because you're using quotes. This is what you're doing. That's fine.
Mhm.
But when it comes to outright disrespect of another human being, especially of my race, we're not gonna do that. Not here.
That's
So
right.
when we talking about men's mental health, when we talking about other things, let me explain something to you. I need you to focus. Like my biggest pet peeve is when people dismiss, deflect, and spin it around and make themselves either the victim or they spin the narrative and make it about something the topic isn't even about. Pay attention. If you don't want to discuss that, don't be on the podcast. Don't call in. Don't listen in. Just do yourself a favor and go to another platform. It's really simple. I promise you, we won't cry. We would love to have you, but if you want to leave, with that toxic energy, that negative energy, please do. Please do. There's going to be times when all of us don't agree on everything, and it's okay. But it's how you do everything that matters the most. I have to be respectful to whatever your opinion is. That's fine. I can respect it. I don't have to agree with it, but I can respect it. When it comes to men, stop being so dismissive. Women, I'm talking to you directly. All of you aren't like that. However, those of you who are, y'all got to do better. Seriously. And that's one of the reasons why men don't open up to you, because of the way you are.
Mhm.
And of course, you're going to say, well, I'm not the problem. Okay, no problem. Keep on doing what you do. I promise you, you will have a revolving door of results. I promise you.
Well, I was gonna say, well, they maybe just get yourself a girlfriend then. That way
Well,
y'all
I don't
can
see
be
how
both. Y'all can
I don't
both
see
be
how none of them
emotionally
gonna get a
crazy.
word in edgewise.
I don't know. I'm just saying that's just the alternative. If you can't deal
I
with a
just don't get it.
man
But
and emotions, but whatever. Yeah.
yeah. So
Okay, so real quick before you do your station identification, because you were up there in Northern Virginia.
I was just about to segue into that.
Yeah, buddy. I want to hear about it. Because I ain't been up
Look,
there in a while. Now, I will say the last time I've been up there, please excuse my French, it was a shithole.
Hmm.
But it was a while ago. It was at least 10 years ago. So I haven't been back. And I'm talking about for anybody listening, I'm talking about the whole Trump with the federalization of DC. And I wanted to get Dedrick's thought because he's closer to that area than I am.
Well, I think he's wrong for doing things the way he's doing them, because the military should not be used in those ways. They really shouldn't. So he's misappropriating what he has at his disposal, and I don't like his mentality when it comes to the homeless. Now, I do feel like the homeless populations in all major cities should be prioritized, and something should be done. But the way he's presenting it, you're okay. You want the homeless people moved, but where are you going to move them? Do you have any programs or incentive programs for them? Where are you going to dump them at? So you just talking about the homeless is just too much. We need the homeless to be gone is too much. Okay. Did you think out the whole plan? Because just saying it might sound good to you, but where you gonna dump them? You gonna dump them here in Maryland? What are you gonna do? You gonna do like what are you gonna do? You can't say you're gentrifying something, because that would indicate that you got someplace for them to go. So what are you doing? You're just gonna throw out human beings anywhere? Just dump them someplace.
So, so do you know? And you can fact check me because you know I always come correct. I don't talk about nothing I don't know about. Mm-hmm. So do you know that the homeless are offered to go to whether it be a shelter, rehabilitation, even, maybe they have family members that they can reunite with, and that they are actually willing to, if they volunteer to leave that area, that they are giving those subsidies to do so.
If that's the truth, I don't got no problem with it. But what I'm saying is the way he's presenting it, I don't see him doling out any solutions. He's not, or at least he's not saying it in public.
Let's rephrase that. It's not what he's saying, it's what the media is saying. I read the bill. I read what he is trying to put in motion. They want to. So if you're homeless, so for example, you're homeless. I walk up to you and I say, "Hey, sir, we're cleaning up the streets. You can't be here anymore. Do you have family or friends that you can go to?" Let's say you say, "No, I don't have any family or friends that I can reach." Okay. Would you like for me to put you in a temporary shelter? Are you on drugs? Do you need rehabilitation? We can help you with that as well. And they say, "You know what? Yeah, I am on drugs and I could use some help." They are going to give the provisions to help those homeless people to get clean or be rehabilitated or whatever. Now, they do say that if they say pretty much, F you, I'm not leaving, and you can't make me leave, yes, they will go to jail for that. But I don't even see that as a bad thing, because I think that sometimes when homeless people are homeless for so long that they feel like there is no other option. So sometimes, and I'm not saying charge them with something criminal where they're going to be in jail for 10 years. I'm saying get them into a safe, secure place, give them 3 meals a day, medical attention, and maybe they are on drugs. And because they don't have access to drugs any longer, now that they can get clean. So the way that the media is portraying it, because I don't do media, I do reading. I don't do media. The way that the media is portraying it is like, oh well, he's just like power washing the streets and and shoving them into the swamp. No, he's actually given options for them to rehabilitate or to go into shelters and things of that nature. See, that's my biggest problem sometimes with Trump. And I'm not a huge Trump fan. People think that I am, but I'm not. I dogged the shit out of him in 2016. With his first term, I had family members that blocked me because I talked so much shit about him. But when he's right, he's right. And I would agree with it if it was Biden, Obama, Bush, Trump, don't matter. But this is a problem that needs to be rectified. Um, so but then people are saying that like the crime rates are not as bad as he's making them seem. But then you have other people that are saying like, yes, the hell they are. Like, I don't even feel comfortable walking to the store to get a loaf of bread after 8 p.m. because I'm scared I'm gonna get bopped upside my head in DC, you know. So again, like, sometimes we got to be careful what the media puts out, because we already know the media hates Trump, and you can hate him, like him, love him. I really don't care, but I look into everything. Like, I question everything, and the process is actually not bad, where they're actually offering these people like rehabilitation, shelter. Now the ones that refuse it and act an ass or are truly criminals, yeah, they'll go to jail. But the ones that want to do better or say, hey, you know what? All right, come on, I'm ready. I mean, so how is that a bad thing? Is my question.
My thing is about how it's being portrayed by him in particular. Now, if they have that system in place and stuff like that, I don't have an issue with it and stuff like that. But because these people, they're homeless. Some of them are by choice. Some of them, they're strung out. So, and you addressed all that stuff. So it's a situational type of situation with me. For me, because again, all these people ain't going to no shelters. All of these people are not going to fit in these jails. Because they make it seem like these jails, you got all this room. There ain't that much room in these jails. So with these homeless shelters, these shelters are freaking dangerous too. So my thing is if you got a plan behind what you're talking about, okay, clean up the streets. That's fine. Ain't got nothing to do. I mean, I always want a clean environment and a safe environment for people. But like, are you doing it the right way? Are you doing it in a humanitarian way? You know what I'm saying? Because the way he's portraying it, when I see him addressing this situation, I'm just like, okay, what else? Like I'm that's what I'm looking for. I'm trying to figure out, okay, how are you gonna go out cleaning this? What are you advocating on? What are you doing? So that's for me. That's the how is what I'm talking about. The act of cleaning it up is never a bad thing. We shouldn't have as many homeless as we do in this nation, but we do. So I just gotta, he's prioritizing DC right now, but okay, like is it going to be a system that could work anywhere? Like what? I don't know. But as far as DC goes, that's what I'm worried about is how are you going to implement this thing and what are you trying to do? Okay, if you're going to force them to move or whatever, how is that going to work? How is that system set up? Like where are they going to go? Like what are you going to do to these people? These are human beings now, whether they
I
do it
understand.
willingly or not willingly. How is that going to be handled?
Well, I understand that too, but at the same token, like I'm an overthinker, and I was thinking, I'm like, okay, let's say I'm a world leader that flies over to America to meet with President Trump, and we're
Mm-hmm.
about to have negotiations about something, and I land at whatever airport is over there, I forget now, but I land there, and then I ride through cities or whatever, and all I see is homeless people, crimes, whatever, right? And DC's not a city. DC's not a state. Is federalized. It's the District of Columbia. It will never be a city. It will never be a state. And so I was thinking, like, well, if I were a world leader and if I rode through that, I'm not really trying to negotiate with you because you can't even control your capital. You can't even control your capital. So how I'm gonna make deals with you? And I just rolled through. I saw a crackhead. I saw some pit bulls. I saw a couple of fights, a carjacking, whatever it may be, you know. So that's something to take into consideration as well. And then like I took the further liberty to Google like some of the other nations that we deem as third world nations. And if you Google them like Dubai and places like that where the princes and stuff are, their capitals are immaculate.
Hmm.
Immaculate. You wouldn't even find a Snickers wrapper on the ground. They're immaculate. So that's something else to consider too. Even if, you know, we don't want crime nowhere, we know it's going to happen. But at the very least, your capital, where your government is working and things like that, that should be at the very least pristine, in my opinion. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, if I roll through that, I'd be like, I ain't making no deal with you. You can't even run your capital. The hell? No, I'm gonna keep going to war. I'm gonna keep doing what I do because you can't even run this.
Hmm. I can see that
So
perspective.
there's just a lot of different things to kind of look at when it comes to that. And I'm
Yeah,
an unbiased person.
I can see
I
that
try to look
perspective.
at
I
things
really
all
can.
all types of ways.
You know, no, I get it. I can see that perspective. And I understand what you're saying. Like I said, my biggest thing is the how, and how you're gonna do all the things that you're gonna do in such a way that it doesn't, it doesn't adversely affect human beings. Like I don't know. I just feel all these boarded up buildings and stuff like that with all the money that they're wasting, they can pour into these buildings, make it rehabilitation centers, make it halfway houses, make it someplace where people can actually have a living and get these people employed again, like something. I don't know. And I mean, and I do know some people don't even want to be on the grid. Some people don't even want to be on the grid. Some people don't even want to be paying no taxes. That's why they panhandle. I get it. I get it. You're gonna have a faction of those that's like that, but at least try to make things the way they're supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just don't see that.
But well, I understand that, but you do realize that that is a Democratic run district.
What are you talking about?
DC.
I mean, explain what your whole
Mayor
statement was.
Bowser. It's a Democratic
Okay.
run, and it's a sanctuary city as well.
Well, whether it's Mario Bowser, you do know that he's already overridden a few things that she's proposed, right? So it's not like it's not beyond his scope to take care of it or do certain things. So we can't put it on a Democratic or Republican thing. It's about doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying?
But
So for me,
but
if he wanted certain things to be done, he could do it. He's already disregarded a whole lot. So what's the difference?
No, my point of that is that I think she's been the mayor there since at least 2020 because she's the one that put the BLM on the street, Mayor Bowser.
Okay.
So she's been there at least for 5 years. So if there's a lot of crime and things like that going on, then that's why I'm saying, like, so what are the Democratic mayors and people doing there in DC? There was a video. I forget her name. Please forgive me. I call her Chia Pet. That was the lady that used to speak for the house for the what the fuck was her name? The black lady, and she always had on a suit, and she looked like a Chia Pet. The Caroline Levitt of the Biden administration. Anyways, and I saw a clip where she literally said that they had implemented or they were writing a law to where they would reduce penalty and time for sexual assault. I'm gonna send it to you just so you know I'm not lying. Sexual assault, murders, and things of that nature. Like, so crimes that should have been penalized very heavily, they reduced like the penalties for those. So it's like, I get that people don't like Trump or how he's doing things, but could it possibly be that he's doing things the way that he's doing them because the last administration really screwed up? And we cannot sit here and say that Biden was the greatest president ever. He wasn't even the president half the time. He had autopen, you know. In this democratic city, and it's the nation's capital. If anything should be safe, if anything should be clean, it definitely should be that. It's no different than when Gavin Newsom, he cleaned up the streets when Xi Jinping from China came to LA. He cleaned that up. Nobody said anything about that. He got rid of all the homeless, all the tents, everything. You might as well had like a big ass leaf blower blowing homeless folks and tents away when Xi Jinping was coming over to LA. It had something to do with the Olympics. But nobody said anything about that. But then when he does this in DC, it's like everybody has a problem with it. So for me, the biggest thing is always hypocrisy. I'm a believer, left wing, right wing, same damn bird. So I'm not on neither side. But I do see things for how they are. So it's okay for one person to do it, but then when Trump does it, it's like people hate him so much that they don't see that something needs to get done about certain things, and they hope that he fails. And I'm sorry, like, I don't hope that he fails. Whether I like him or not doesn't matter, because this is America.
I want what's best for the country. I want what's best for. That's what I want, regardless of who it's under. I want what's best for the citizens of this country, right? So that's where my brain is. Now, when it comes to why hasn't there been any priorities on Flint, Michigan, and their water issue? I haven't heard anything. about what they're doing with that infrastructure. Nothing. So if you want to sit there and clean up stuff, you got a major city with poisonous water. But you allocating all this money this way, this way, this way, this way. Oh, y'all found a whole lot of money. Okay, well, you got enough money now to clean it up.
But you have
Like
to
certain,
understand that. But hold on. You know I'm political, but you have to understand that sometimes that, and it doesn't matter if it's Obama, Biden, Trump, Bush. It does not matter. Sometimes it's not about the president. I keep telling people that the president is not the ultimate like go to. It's about your city officials. They're doing something, so people need to speak out for them as well.
that's been
And my
already
friend, my
happening.
friend, my friend is actually a senator for Michigan, and she works on that. I have to hook you up with her one day. Um, and like she's actually a senator in Detroit, Michigan. And she speaks about the water and things like that. But she understands that this is not something that Trump could just snap his fingers and make it happen, because you have people really like, I don't know for what reason, but they're really interfering in this thing, whether it be for funding or whatever. I'll find the video and I'll send it to her, because she was actually on the Senate floor discussing it. Um, it's no different than like when Gavin Newsom, when all the fires were going on in LA, and they were holding on to this water that they could have just turned the freaking knob and turned on the water. So I don't know. I don't claim to be an expert because I don't know the inner dealings, but there are some other things that I think that other officials are also doing to stop progress for whatever their reason may be. I'm not sure.
You were talking about the California thing, right? The fire thing.
Yeah.
What? But you know about that family that owns most of the water control in California, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit bigger than Gavin. So it's not as simple as turning the faucet. It's not as simple as that. Because if you got
But
the top 1% of anything, they're gonna have a certain influence on what goes on because they got a vested interest in it financially. They were
true.
financially invested in those fires, and those fires, if you notice on that map, they had those fires was in specific places. Those fires wasn't random,
Mm-mm.
and those fires was right in the areas where they're supposed to be running this, creating this eco-friendly city or rebuilding the city. I forgot what they actually called it, but they got a
Smart
new
city.
rail system, smart city.
Smart city.
So this wasn't at all random. It wasn't. And so I don't think Gavin had that kind of power. It was above his pay grade.
Sure, it might have been okay, so it might have been above Trump's too.
Again,
Trump is a pebble in the pond compared to them.
Yeah.
So again, it's just, and me and you are like-minded in those things where we can see. That's just like now, Gavin Newsom, what, he turned the water back off. Well, somebody turned let me say it, let me be politically correct. Somebody turned the water back off, and you have a whole bunch of ranchers who are cattle ranchers, and they have no water for their cattle. And I said, oh, so the fires is getting played out. So now you want to take the ranchers' lands, because a lot of the ranchers are like, if we don't get water for our cattle, we're going to have to sell. We're going to have to give up our business. We're going to have to sell our land. And now, maybe the fires, is a little bit too, obvious. So now you're going to restrict water to the cattle lands in California, and you're going to force these people to sell their lands so that you can build low income housing, because that's another thing where they said that all these people that lost their homes, there's $100 million missing that they can't find that was supposed to go to the victims of the people that lost their homes. They're they're talking about not being able to rebuild for like 2 years, not being able to rebuild their homes. I know what that's about. They're gonna they're gonna try to buy that land, and they already said it. They want to buy that land and build low income housing. And guess what? Guess who that low income housing gonna go to? It ain't gonna be to black people. It's gonna be to illegal
Nope.
immigrants.
Mm.
As far as I'm
Well,
concerned, as far as I'm concerned, when they build the wall around Mexico, I think they should keep going up around California.
that's crazy. That's crazy. That's just crazy. Yeah, Lord.
But it's true.
Wow.
I don't give you nothing that you can't look up yourself and see that it's true. If I don't know, I don't say it.
That's just crazy. This is too much politics playing into people's real lives, and it's just like people, and they don't care. That's the
Nope,
thing that bothers me the most is that they do not care
they do not.
how it affects real people. They don't.
Those
It's
lands
crazy.
that were burned, they are purchasing them, and they're going to
Yep.
build low income housing on them. And now, like I said, they cut the water supply off, supposedly, for the cattle ranchers. That's why your beef is expensive. Everybody wants to talk about inflation. No, it's because of stuff like that. That's why your beef is expensive, because your cattle ranchers can't raise cows and give you beef without water. So they cut that off in hopes that they will sell or abandon their ranches and their farmland so they can take it from them. It is what it is.
That's just
And
ridiculous.
it's true.
All right, guys. So I was going to pause for station identification real quick,
Oh,
and
shoot, it is 2 o'clock.
so I want to mention first and foremost, Meet the World Image Solutions, where your literary services, one stop shop for getting your book out there. If you got, and she believes that everybody has a book in them and whatnot. And by she, I mean Dr. Rhonda M. Lawson. And if you don't know who she is, now you know, now you know, now you know. Go to www.mtwimagesolutions.com. That's MTW. That's Meet the World Image Solutions. Meet the World Image Solutions. Once again, MTW Image, IMAGE Solutions with an SOLUITIONS.com. All right. That's Meet the World Image Solutions and whatnot, and get all of your literary needs met. Okay. Also, she's got a very, very special she there's something very, very special coming down the pipeline. I'll have that for you the very next time. I'm going to make sure she's got everything finished so that when I present it to you guys can jump on it and have first dibs and whatnot. If you're in the literary world, if you like reading, if you like creating digital works and stuff like that. And she has some very, very valuable information in the package that she's creating for you guys. So anyway, that's mtwimagesolutions.com, guys. And also by Mr. Craves Cookies, where it's a party in your mouth, having over 54 plus and growing flavors of cookies and bars. And also we are in 29 states and Panama. So guys, please, because I'm working on Africa right now. I'm working on Africa and whatnot. So please, guys, go and make your mouth happy. Go get you some stuff. All right. DM me on IG and tell them you saw us here and whatnot. DM me at mrcravescookies.com. Excuse me, Mr. Craves Cookies. MRCRAVES Cookies on Instagram. Okay. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. So, in summary, we're gonna wrap this up real quick. When we're talking about men's health, this is not a point of contention because I still see, and I'm gonna tell you right now on my TikTok, the TikTok that I posted, it now has over 17,700 responses. Oh, I'm sorry. In the 2 hours that we were here, it grew by 4,000. Okay, so I'm at 19,100 views and over 1,963 comments, and that's over me asking why isn't men's mental health not prioritized or talked about more. And when I tell you people have had opinions out the wazoo, they've had opinions out the wazoo. And a lot of the opinions have been deflections, dismissals, had nothing to do with the topic at hand. And everything was made about women. So that tells me that men's health is not prioritized. You want to talk about everything else but men's health. Now, do we talk about it among ourselves? Yes, we do. We have men's groups, we have men's forums, we have men's chat groups. You have all those things. That's the reason why you don't see them. You don't see them because you don't join them. It's not for you. It's not for you. Those communities are not for you. Those groups are not for you. So that's the reason why you don't see them. That's the reason why you don't pay attention to them. Because why would you prioritize a man's mental health group when you're not a man? So you're not a part of those. That's the reason why you don't see them. So to think that just because you don't see them or you don't think about them, they don't exist, that's laughable. So that being said, like I said, we're trying to take care of ourselves and stuff like that. But ladies, you guys do play a crucial role in that. You do, because you guys matter to us. So what the energy that you bring to us, it matters. You know what I'm saying? What you tell your little boys, it matters because that's an implant. You're teaching those boys a certain way of being, right? So if you don't do it the right way, they could have some adverse effects when they get older. If your child is not your friend, you know what I'm saying? So when you're teaching your little boy how to get men in their lives who can have positive influences on their lives, okay? I don't care if it's through sports because the coaches always have influences on their lives. I don't care what you do, get them involved with community events or whatever the case is. Do something that's going to give them purpose and drive and instill some purpose to them and stuff like that. Yes, encourage them to talk and express themselves, but encourage them to do it in a healthy way. And that's all I got to say about it. As far as the Trump military occupation, I'm still indifferent about it. I'm not totally against it. As far as the idea of cleaning up DC and all that good stuff, cool, clean it up, but I want you to do it the right way. I just want it done the right way. What do I deem the right way? I just don't want people to be hurt and just left out to the pasture. Um, like we discussed already, there's going to be people who don't want to be on the grid, who don't want the government's help because they have a thing about the government. I get it. And then there's going to be those who do take the help if it's offered. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I got to say about that. So the floor is yours.
Pretty much just agree with everything that you said. But as a woman, I will say, ladies, pay attention to your man. Y'all know y'all man. You know when he's having a bad day. You can tell body language, less talking, maybe. Maybe he's not as vocal as he usually is. Just ask him how his day was. And if he sits there and talks, let him talk. Even if, look, I'm guilty of it. Even if you're not interested in it. Because guess what? They don't be interested in what we be venting about either sometimes, but they listen. They listen. Let them talk. But I would still say pay attention. So that way you can at least respond and acknowledge that you were listening. Um, your man will listen to you. And I just say do the same for them. And your man is supposed to be he's supposed to feel safe with you. Excuse me, I'm sorry. He's supposed to feel safe with you. And if he doesn't, I don't know about nobody else, but if I don't feel safe with being vulnerable with you as a man, you're not my man. And a lot of men feel that same way with a woman. They just mask it differently. They just say, "Oh well, she don't care" or whatever. So I would just say, ladies, just be a little more attentive to your men in your life, whether it's a brother, cousin, uncle. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm gonna say this: treat if it was your little brother and he came to you and he was expressing himself about something he was going through, you be ready to ride or die for him. Am I lying? But if it's your man, he's supposed to suck it up. What's the difference? Treat your man no different than you would treat your friend, your brother, your cousin, your nephew, because guess what? His feelings matters too. As far as Trump goes, again, I wanted Dedrick's opinion because I know he's closer. I live in Virginia as well, but I haven't been in DC for a while. Um, as long as they're doing it the correct way, I'm all for it. Clean up the streets, get rid of the crime. Hell, there's a couple other cities that probably need to hit too. But let's not take it as a focus on race, but more on crime. Because we have our elders in these neighborhoods as well who don't even feel comfortable walking to the store to get a loaf of bread. You know, our elders, our law-abiding citizens should also feel safe in their neighborhoods. Not everybody can pack up and move to a more affluent neighborhood. That doesn't mean that they should have to live with crime and people not doing right. So as long and I'm with Dedrick on this one, as long as they're doing the correct way, I'm all for it. Now the first time they start acting a damn fool, then I'll be the first one to say, yeah, nah, we're not doing that. But for now, let's just see what happens. And we need to clean up these cities because I want everybody to be as safe as possible in their neighborhood. And that's all I got on that.
All right, guys, and thank you guys for coming through and whatnot. We're gonna see you guys next week, same time, same station. With the Soul Flow conversation. Thank you guys. I am the host, Dedrick, the Cookie Man, and that was the phenomenal Mrs. Fields. And we will be seeing you guys soon. Thank you guys very much.
Mm, you got it together? Oh.